Oxman with LowKick MMA here, Dustin Jacoby, who returns to action at UFC 296. Dustin, how are you?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me on the show.
Of course, man. My pleasure. About less than a month out, man. How are you feeling?
Dude, I feel great. I feel really good. This camp's been going pretty smooth. And yeah, we're at the finish line now. We got less than a month. We got a few weeks here left to grind, and then it's fight week, which is the best week of the year. Any fight week's the best week of the year, and I'm really looking forward to this one. Big card, Vegas. Everything is going really well. I'm happy about it.
I mean, last card of the year, Vegas, you're fighting in front of a sold out crowd again. Like most of your fights have been in front of crowds. So, like, what do you think the UFC thinks of you?
I think that they like what I bring to the table. They do, man. I think I tore up the Apex. I did really well there, which I thought was, for these young fighters and guys, it's different now because COVID's come and passed and we're not on lockdown. But I think that was the best thing that happened for my career was to be in the lockdown, to fight in the Apex, just get comfortable. I always told coach, man, if we just brought guys into the gym and just stepped in the cage on a spar day, I feel like I never lose. He's like, I got to find a way to translate that into the octagon, and that's how the Apex was. I felt like it was just at the gym, just a couple buddies walking through this cage with nobody there, and I did really well. And then I've been on a lot of the cards that once things started opening up and they were having bigger cards, they've been putting me on them. So yeah, man. And then you asked that question, just kind of confirms what I think. I think they like me. I think I've done well, and I think that I'm a little bit of a crowd pleaser. So to get an opportunity to go out there and fight in front of a crowd once again and get them riled up is I'm really looking forward to it.
Absolutely, man. I want to go back to your win against Kennedy. Going into that fight, it was the first time you were on a two fight losing streak since you were fighting in Bellator. So, like, how much pressure was on your shoulders to go out there and get a win?
You know what? Looking at it, I can feel the pressure. I kind of get anxiety thinking about it. But when I was in there, when I was doing my thing, I never really felt the pressure. I remember, the Roundtree fight. It is what it is. I felt like I didn't really lose, and I had a good talk with Mick Maynard about that fight. He didn't feel like I lost either, and I told him I was like, well, I tell you what, man. The thing that sucks is I got paid like I lost. And that's what hurts the most, and that's what sucks too. These bad decisions that you see is like these judges are playing with our livelihood, and it's one thing to see a bad decision, but that fighter that everyone thought won also had got half his check, and then that's the biggest thing that is the hardest pill to swallow. But then the Asimov fight, I felt more pressure in the Asimov fight. I think just because my streak had ended. And I was coming off the loss, and then here I was fighting a killer Russian guy, undefeated, and went in there, and man, it just wasn't my night. The second round he ended up dropping me again. I think that was another fight I thought was pretty close until I have no problems with that one. He definitely won that night. He definitely beat me, but it was close. And had he not dropped me late in that second round, I thought I won that fight. And then we're going into the Kennedy fight, man. I just relinquished all results. I didn't even think about it. I'm thinking, to lose three in a row is never a good, especially in the UFC, it's never good. But I was also thinking, maybe, the Roundtree fight, they don't think I lost. So, maybe they give us another chance. But honestly, I wasn't thinking about any of that. I was just no pressure, man. I threw the results out the window. I was just having fun. I was like, look, man, that it is what it is. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen. And I've said it before. I told my coach that night, and I've said it a couple of times since, man. If I could get into the same zone, the same state of mind that I was in when I fought Kennedy, man, I feel like I can't be beaten there. I felt so good. I was just in a flow state that was like, I can't even explain it. And the results, solidified what I was feeling. So I just got to get back in that state of mind and on fight night. Obviously I don't feel pressured for this fight. I feel really good about this fight. I'm just excited to go out there and showcase my skills and get another opportunity to end the year with a bang.
I like how you brought up how the judges kind of fuck with your livelihood and kind of screw the fires because not only if they give a bad decision, not only do you not get paid, they also screw with your record and in the UFC eyes. Like, right, so say they screwed you with that Khalil fight, and I thought you won as well, but you know they screwed you with that, and say you go out there and lose to Kennedy. Now that's you lose three in a row, and then you're out, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, man. So yeah, it goes so much further than just those judges. And that's why, honestly, man, I got like a simple solution. I think that would really help that problem is if the judges did not sit cage side, if they sat in a closed off room by themselves with no sound, and they just watched the fight that way. I think that would fix a lot of the problem too, because I think they're persuaded by the audience or by people cage side. Take the Khalil fight for example. He hit me with some big shots, but they never rocked me. Never once was I wobbled. So and then I hit him. I outstruck him 2-1. So they're saying I took more damage because I took a bigger shot, but I hit him twice as many times. So who took more damage? And it's like, and then those big punches cage side, you get, the few people at that time, there's like a couple hundred people at the apex be like, oh, well, now the judges hear that, they hear his corner, and it definitely persuades them, and they're judging. And I think if they went to a closed off room with nobody else and watched the fight with no sound, I think that would drastically change the outcome of some of these close fights, in my opinion.
1000%. I've been saying that for years. I think that is the only way that one simple thing that can maybe help because sitting cage side on press row, I it's fucking impossible to score a fight correctly. It's so hard to see.
Oh, dude, and then throw the crowd in there, and now you get a couple back and forth, and the crowd, and now they're like, oh, the crowd loved it, I love it, so we got to pick this guy. But did he win the entirety of that round? Did he win the entirety of that fight? So yeah, it's frustrating, and like you said, man, yeah, it's one thing. Okay, judges made a mistake, whatever. But now, say I lose to Kennedy, that's freaking three in a row, and I'm getting the boot when that shouldn't even happen. I should have had a 10 fight win streak or nine, whatever the heck it was,
Yeah,
going into a new matchup.
yeah, no, 1000%. It's awful, man. It's awful, and the thing about it is, it's the 30th anniversary of the UFC, and it feels like the judges are just getting worse. Like how is that even possible?
Yeah, I agree, man. And I also think the judges need to be ex-fighters, guys that have been in there before, guys that have been through it, guys that, have just been through the heat before. I think that would help as well. And heck, man, maybe when my career is done, I'm going to start going after the judges. I'm going to try to be a judge, make sure that shit doesn't happen. And listen, at the same time, we all know that, if you had to sit there and judge the fight, it'd probably be a little bit harder than what guys, just sitting about and talking about it. But still, man, something's got to change. Like,
Bro, the judges have the best job in the world. They get to sit cage side and watch fucking MMA fights. Like what?
with
Like,
no with no consequences. Yeah, no consequences where they fuck up. Yeah, people might say stuff online, but they don't. Those judges go home happy at night. They get paid. They have no consequences.
1000%. And if I believe, because they're not, if they had to come talk to the media after the fights, right, and kind of detail what they saw, how they fucked up, maybe they would think about judging a fight fucked up.
That's another great point, man. I think, yeah, at the end of the night, we're just about the winning fighters. Losing fighters get some, but the winning fighters have to go through the media. I think the judges should have to go to the media and discuss, and if they let them ask questions about what they saw, and that way we can hear their explanation and we can see, okay, this is why this guy scored this or that, whether it was right or wrong. At least we know we got some type of explanation of why the hell they did what they did.
Yeah. It's been 7 minutes and we've fixed judging. Look at that.
Exactly, man. So everybody in MMA needs to listen to this interview right here.
um, awesome, man. Well, so you're fighting a former teammate of Kennedy, Alonzo Menifield. When they gave you the name, like, was he on your radar? Like, obviously he's a spot higher than you. Like, did you kind of figure you probably fight this guy at some point?
I did when after I fought Darren Stewart. I remember he fought around that time. I remember seeing him. And I even did an interview with, gosh, I want to say it was LowKick MMA, but I don't. Maybe it was. I can't remember who it was with. But I remember I called. I mentioned his name because I had just seen him. He had just won like a by knockout, and he claimed he was a striker. And I was like, well, heck, I want to fight that guy. If he's a striker, I want to see how quickly he becomes a wrestler. And I completely forgot about that interview. And one of my buddies, when this fight came to fruition, sent me that interview. I was like, oh. all right, well, maybe I did want to fight him. But honestly, when they brought his name, he was, Darren Stewart, that was a couple years ago. At this point, I was kind of already looking. I was looking for a top 10 matchup. I've been calling Ryan Span's name. I really want to fight Ryan Span. I think that's a fight that gets me in the top 10, in opportunity anyway. And I think they asked Ben to fight at this card 296, and he said he wanted to, was taking a break until next year. And they're like, well, a couple days later, they said, well, how about Alonzo Menifield? And at that point, I had already decided, because when I said Span, I was talking about fighting in March or April. I was like, I'll do a big card in March or April, enjoy the holidays and get through. I just fought in August and, fought twice this year. I had a good fight my last fight. So I was waiting to fight early next year. And then they came back, Alonzo Menifield, December 16th. And right away, I love the matchup. Right away, I remember right when Coach said, he's like, "Look, you don't have to." He's like, "You can wait until March, April, or if you're willing to commit, because we're going to accept this fight. You're in camp, man. We got to commit and get after it." I took a day, and I think that night I sent Coach a text. I was like, "Hey, man, let's do it. Let's get right back into camp." And I love the matchup. And another thing that was enticing to me was he's ranked ahead of me. So finally, I get to fight somebody that's ranked ahead of me and get my spot back. My word at the beginning of the year was keep, and part of that was to keep my ranking. And I started the year at number 14, and I fell back to 15. So I'm hoping I go in there, get a big victory, and I'll keep my ranking, and it'll all have worked out perfect.
I mean, I think a fight with you versus Ryan Spann would be great. So basically, you're trying to fight all the Florida's MMA light heavyweights.
Yeah, man, I guess that's what it's turned into. Not by it's just a coincidence. I have nothing against Fortis MMA. I've got nothing against those guys. It's just, it's how the cookies crumble.
Absolutely. So I mean, on paper, it's just an explosively fun fight. Both of you guys come forward. Lonzo doesn't really shoot for takedowns, so I don't know if he's going to, or if once he starts seeing your kickboxing, maybe he might. Like, how do you kind of see this fight playing out?
Yeah, I think I don't really see him using his takedowns, but I see him trying to clinch me. I see him trying to wear on me on the cage, try to use his powerful frame to try to get his hands on me. Like you said, he's not really a big shooter, and in the past, as history has showed us, he kind of has a cardio issue as well. So I don't think shooting shots on me is a very good idea, because one thing I have over a lot of these guys is footwork and cardio. You saw it with the Kulaba fight. Kulaba did everything in his power to take me down in round one. And I kept fighting back. He kept taking me down. I kept fighting back. He kept taking me down. And I remember when I was up against the cage, I knew there was a couple minutes. I heard my corner say 2 minutes or something like that. I remember sitting there and thinking to myself, all right, dude, do what you got to do, because I'm going to be here in round two and round three. So, and again, man, I just believe in my cardio. I believe in you can take me down, but you can't hold me down. I'll be able to get to my feet, and it's going to be more taxing on him to try to hold me there. Um, Again, man, I really like the matchup. I think I'm longer than Alonzo. I just have to watch out for his power. I'm not overlooking him one bit, because that guy can put anybody to sleep with one shot. There's no doubt about it. That it's been proven. I just got to stay moving, stay light on my feet, and I welcome him trying to clinch me up. I welcome him trying to take me down, because again, I know my cardio is way better than a lot of these guys. It's one of my strengths, especially in this division. That's why I moved from 185 to 205, because at 185, guys could match my cardio. They were quicker than me. Plus, I was depleting my body. I was losing a bunch of weight. And the weight cut wasn't the issue, but I just wasn't the same fighter. I wasn't the same fast. My cardio wasn't there. At 205, these guys are much bigger than me mass wise, but frame wise, I can compete with all of them. And I'm going to be there at the final bell, man.
I mean, during this run of your UFC, like, do you think he's the hardest puncher you faced so far?
Well, I'd have to give that to Asmat, man. And before that, it was Khalil. Khalil, again, while I think I got robbed, Khalil, that was still a great fight. Khalil's still a hell of a warrior. And I'm looking forward to their fight. They fight December 2nd, Asmat and Khalil, man. I am going to have, and my buddy Cody, who I'm always in his corner. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be there. My wife's running a half marathon. I'm going to support her instead. But I think Khalil was a very hard puncher, but Azamat, I tell you what, I don't know if it's the speed but he definitely has power. And look, he's got like 10 knockouts on his record, man. He hit me the hardest. This is one of the hardest I've ever been hit. So I think here I am facing, Kennedy. He's a big guy too, but this is going to be my third fight in four of guys that are big power punchers. So like I said, man, I definitely have to watch that power from Alonzo. He's dangerous there. He can put you to sleep. Just got to fight smart and be me, man. And I see myself having no problems.
All right. Well, let's get down to it, man. At the end of the day, December 16th, UFC 296. How do you get your hand raised?
You know, I haven't quite seen it yet. I usually have these visions. I usually have these like premonitions, these dreams or whatever. All I can say is I see myself getting my hands raised, man. Whether I got to go three hard rounds, and trust me, come that third round, if we go to the third round, the odds are definitely favoring me. There's no doubt in my mind. Again, just for the cardio purposes, and I get stronger as the fight goes on. And Alonzo, as you've seen in past, he kind of fades a little bit. Again, very dangerous guy. Just the way he's built. The guy's a tank. So I just got to avoid that big knockout punch and take him into deep waters. I'm definitely getting my hands raised December 16th.
I love it. And finally, I just want to ask a couple things. Your old pal Alex Pereira is the light heavyweight champion, dude. I mean, what were your thoughts on that? It's crazy, right?
That is super crazy, man. I'm a big. I was definitely pulling for Pereira because he's a guy that, as I get more into the game and older, and I've been through it just like Pereira has. I'm happy to see a guy like that that's dedicated so much of his time to his craft and to prosper, to fully prosper the way he's prospering. Man, couldn't be happier for the guy. I thought for sure Jerry was going to blend and use his MMA skills and just put Pereira in a blender, and that did not happen, man. So kudos to Pereira. That was very impressive. But dude, I tell you what, when he won, it also confirmed I'm closer than ever to my dreams. And you're right, Pereira and I do have history. We fought March 8th of 2014. And to be able to, I need to go in there and get this big win here. A guy, I would love to get that rematch with Pereira, not out of animosity or out of vengeance or anything vindictive, out of just pure respect for him and to get that any warrior that lost to somebody, you want to go and get that loss back. You want to avenge that loss, and there'd be nothing vindictive about it. But I want to, if I can go toe to toe with him and claim that title, how great of a story would that be? A guy knocks me out in March 2014 in a completely different sport, by the way, and to be able to rematch him 10 years later. I just have to go in there, get this win, maybe fight, maybe get one more big win in the top 10. Look at Tom Aspinall. He just became the heavyweight champ at number 10. He was number 10 before that. So it is going to be a little bit tougher with all the guys in this division that were out that are coming back, and might be a standing line. But hey, I'm going to shoot my shot. I'm going to get this big victory the 16th. I'm going to shoot my shot. Pereira's the champ, but he can handpick. That's how it works sometimes. If he's like, hey, Jacoby's a stand-up, let's do the stand-up matchup. That'd be pretty sweet, man. But again, can't say enough good things about Pereira. Happy for him. I love to see a guy like that prosper.
I mean, you could even bring up the fact that, I mean, the whole reason he even got fast tracked was because of his kickboxing career with Israel. So like, you have a kickboxing career. You guys fought in 2014. Like, there's a story there, right?
Boom, dude! You just gave me some good intel right there. I am going to utilize that. Hey, man, the current champ right now got fast tracked because of his kickboxing career. Him and I have history in kickboxing. Fast track me, baby. Let's go.
I mean, it makes sense, dude.
It sure does.
I guess just as him as a whole, he's got to be brought up as one of the best combat sports athletes of all time, right? Like a 2 division champion Glory, 2 division champion UFC. Like, it's crazy
It's
stuff.
incredible. It really is crazy stuff, man. For him to have less than 10 MMA fights, be a 2 division champion in the UFC. If you would have told me this now, even knowing how good of a striker he is, even knowing how much danger, how much power he has, and how dangerous he is, never in a million years would I have said that guy would be a 2 division champ in the UFC. But hey, dude, that's how the stars aligned. That the universe was, that's just higher power. That's just divine intervention right there, man. That was just meant to be. And I truly believe in things like that. I truly believe that, I go get this big victory. There's a chance I could be right in that same position with him. And like I said, when he won, my jaw was dropped, but it confirmed that I'm closer than ever to my dreams, man. So that was pretty cool.
Awesome. And finally, I just want to ask about your teammates. Chris Gutierrez got his first main event. Jonathan Martinez picked up a big win. And Markel Medeiros got a UFC contract. And I talked to everybody at Factory X except for you. Like, how stoked were you to see Markel, work his way
Oh
up
man,
to get that?
I was just mingling with all those guys right now, man. Those are my boys. I love those dudes. We don't do a lot of training together because of the size difference, but those are my guys, man. I look up to them. They look up to me. Markel, he had such a tough fight. I was kind of worried for him because it was like that big, when you get that first big fight and you're young in your career and you have this tough Russian guy that just wants to grab you and wrestle you and take you down. I was like, man, it's a terrible matchup. And it's so easy to go into those fights and to be satisfied coming up a little bit short. You know what I mean? To be okay, like, yeah, the guy was just better. But man, Markel owned it. He freaking rode he survived that storm and ends up hitting and then the knockout was just beautiful and then sprinkled a little bit on him, man. I was so happy for him and to see him. Dude, I tell you what, he was an open class student. He was an open class student here at Factory X to work his way up through the ranks. When he got into the fight team, I knew that like, oh, this kid could be, he could be good, but I didn't realize it would turn into what it has turned into. And I'm super proud of him. He's a hard worker. Chris Gutierrez, man, funny guy, great dude. He's got his first main event, which is super badass. And I tell you what, man, he wasn't going to do that. Him and Jonathan both got asked for that fight. They both said no. Jonathan was a little more banged up from all the kicks he threw. And I had to talk with Katikas that day. Me and Coach and Caruso, we were sitting there like, what if he did? Like, and Coach is like, I already know what DJ would do. He damn right, man. I'd be saying yes to that. And after that talk, dude, that next day and later that night, he confirmed with Coach. That next day, I found out he was taking the fight. I was like, man, super proud of you. He was like, man, I'm not going to sell out. I'm like, bro, selling out would just be accepting that fight, thinking you're going to lose and saying, oh, I'm just going to take the money and just go through the motions. The day I was like, that'd be selling out. I was like, you're not selling out if you accept that fight and you go in there and you train your ass off to go win. Man, he really, I could tell he really took that to heart. And that next day he showed up, bro. He was here early, doing the extra work, just like he was back in camp. And that's what he's done every day since. He's always in here early doing that extra work. So he's fully committed. I know he's not, like I said, selling out would be saying yes and then just training half-ass, man. He said yes, and he's been on the grindstone, man. He's been on it hard as it can be. And then Jonathan Martinez, bro, I love that guy. He is so quiet, but man, when you get him opened up, he is one of the funniest dudes. He's all three of those guys bring a smile to my face. They're a great group of dudes, and very happy to see them succeeding. Then we got Brandon Royval. He's fighting for the flyweight world title, which is freaking awesome. Brandon's another guy that you can't ever walk into this gym and not see him doing something. I'm like, bro, do you ever rest? Do you ever sleep? Do you ever take some time to chill? Like, we'll get done with the practice like we just had, and then next thing you know, he's hitting mitts for another hour. And that's just Brandon, man. He is a worker, and he has earned everything that's came to him. And that was another thing when I got this call about the fight. I was already going to be in the building. We were already going to be there watching Brandon fight for this world title. So when they asked me to be a part of the card, I'm like, well, how can I say no? I'm already going to be there. I know I'm going to be up in the stands drinking beers. Like, man, I should have said yes. So yeah, man, I said yes, and now there's no shoulda. I am going to, and I'm gonna go in there and get a big victory.
How special would it be for both you guys to win on UFC 296?
Oh, it'd be huge, man. Plus, it'd be redemption because we started this year on the same card in April in Kansas City.
Yep,
He got a
yep.
big knockout win. He got a 50K bonus and a world title fight. I had a loss, man, and I had to sit on that, and I felt so bad. And Gutierrez lost that night too. Me and Chris both, and
Yep.
and Zach Cummings and Brandon won, which is really cool, But it's just going to be a night to remember for sure. A quick story, you know, I was telling Coach when I was 22 years old, I was making my UFC debut at UFC 137. It was BJ Penn, Nick Diaz. It was supposed to be Nick Diaz, George St. Pierre. And I'm looking around. We have the fighter meeting with Dana White, right? He comes and you get the weigh-ins all done. You go to the back room. You have your fighter meeting. In walks Dana White. Again, I'm freaking my just jaw drop like, and starts talking to us. The Diaz brothers, both of them, Nick and Nate, and their whole crew's like sitting to the right of me. And Chet Congo was on the card, and I'm sitting there thinking like, dude, do I really belong here? Like, I don't know if I belong here, man. And now, like when we have those fighter meetings and Dana walks in, it's like I know I belong. Like I can't wait to be the man in the arena. I can't wait to show the boss man what I can do and try to get that bonus, you know? So it's just a tale of two different stories, completely different, man. I've just grown so much inside there through all the experiences and with age, you know, but yeah, it's just a completely different feel, man. And I told Coach back then, I was like, man, I don't know if I belong here. And now I was telling him the other day, like, I know I belong, man. So it's a huge mind change. And yeah, dude, I can't wait. It's going to be a special night. And that was another thing I was leading to is I was telling Coach, I remember sitting there and I could never even fathom a world championship, a UFC title. Like I could never even think about it. And now my team, like we're going to be in that fighter meeting. My teammates fighting for the world title. Here I am in the top 15 fighting another top 15 guy in the world. It's just crazy how far I've come, how far we've come as a team. And just like I said, man, back then I could have never imagined, you know, sitting in that room with Dana and owning it, more or less being so close to a world title. And now my teammate's going to go in there and it's like things that you don't even think of. Like I fully anticipate both of us going in there and winning. Like there's not a single doubt in my mind. So it's going to be a very special night, man.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that, man. I really appreciate that. And listen, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate that as well. If you want to plug your social media, plug any sponsors you might have, and if you want to thank anybody, the floor is all yours.
I appreciate you, Alex. Yeah, at the Hanyak DJ is my Instagram. That's where I post a lot of my stuff. Just my friends and family, my fans, all those guys, my team at Factory X, my team at Landau Performance, my sports agency at Iridium Sports Agency, man. I mean, those guys are the best. And my advice out there to anybody, you know, wanting to prosper in life or this career is just surround yourself with good people, man. I have a hardworking, loyal wife at home who's been by my side, you know, my entire career. Her birthday's actually tomorrow on Thanksgiving, and this will be our 16th year together. So it's just crazy, man. We were college sweethearts, and yeah, I fell in love then, still in love now, and she really is the backbone to everything that I do. So I want to give her a big shout out. And again, you know, Factory X, Landau Performance, Iridium Sports Agency, just surround yourself with good people, man, and good things will happen. And yeah, man, everybody tune in December 16th, UFC 296. I'll be on the ESPN prelims. Looking forward to it, man. I can't wait.
Make sure to subscribe to the LowKick MMA YouTube channel for all the latest news, event previews, and interviews with some of the biggest stars in MMA.